This live stream is presented to you by MaxSpeed TV. All live streaming content that is presented in this telecast is owned by MaxSpeed TV, Rudy Cummings, and the entire crew of MSTV. This may not be rebroadcasted, retransmitted, and retelevised without written consent. Please enjoy today's broadcast. And we welcome everybody back here live for tonight's iSCAR event, iSCAR DeNise Design Series here live on MaxSpeed TV for tonight's event. Round number 16 out of 20 brings us to Watkins, Glen International for the first of two races in the round of 10. Glad you can tune us here live as we get set to go green. My name is Ezeckiel Reyes.
And I'm Dewey Schramm. The finale of the road course chase weekend is upon us here, the second of which here at Watkins Glen in beautiful western New York. Get ourselves situated here with practice in a moment, but before we do, of course, you got to mention where everybody sits in points. And those 10 drivers on the left with 6,000 and Hunter Johnson, of course, with the 3 bonus points. Those are your round of 10 drivers that will be trying to get themselves onto the round of 7, which will be in 2 weeks. So just like last night, everybody's coming in with the same amount of points, save for the points later with that win last round. So you cannot afford to have any bad nights, any mistakes, none of that. You have to be on your A game and probably put down your most consistent races of the entire season up to this point.
Yep, that is correct. So it should be interesting to see on how everything will happen for all these drivers who are in that race set area. For Hunter Johnson, I wouldn't say he's out of the groove just yet. That number 12, only 3 points above 2nd through 10th. So if he has a bad night, it's not going to be looking pretty for him.
No, it will not. And even though Hunter's the only one of those guys that has more points than the rest of them, I mean, 3 points in the grand scheme of things may not be a whole lot, but as you look at the ticker, there are only 16 drivers here for tonight's race, and I don't know if all of them are chasers. So those 3 points, I think, are going to be I think they're going to carry a bit more weight tonight. But that the same could potentially not be said for next week, because of course we have no idea how many people are going to show up week in and week out. And it seems like tonight, this is going to be I think it's going to be the lowest car count of the season between this Cup and trucks.
Yep, that is right. It's been a while since we had low field. I mean, change of pace, of course. Of course, coming down to the end of the season is playoff time. Not a lot of non-chasers want to really fly around the racetrack and bother chasers a lot. So, a lot of missing faces like Omar Diallo and Logan Clampett, all those people who show up part-time, not here in present for tonight. It should be interesting to see how it all go with these chasers out, and all these people, 15 of them, have logged in at least 1 lap time. So again, it should be interesting to see on how it'll all turn out, but we'll just have to find out once the checkered flag waves. And that also means those first laps, those opening laps, are going to be very, very important.
Yeah, and again, with only 16 people here in the session tonight, that means points are going to be fewer and far between. So the bonus points that are up for grabs tonight are going to be even more critical than they may otherwise be. And of course, those being for winning the pole, leading a lap, leading the most, finishing with a 0x, and of course the 3 for winning. So with only this few people, you definitely want to take advantage anywhere you can. That'll be it here for the practice session. We'll be back here in just a moment after we play the national anthem. So rise up and remove your hats as we salute our nation's colors.
If you're now just tuning us here live on Max Speed TV, welcome you all here as we get set to go green for the Watkins Glen 100. Currently qualifying underway. Drivers taking the fastest 2 laps around the racetrack to get themselves a nice starting spot. And I wouldn't say starting first spot is very important in tonight's session, considering the amount of people we have as of right now. Looks like that number has expanded to maybe 16 drivers. So still seeing some more late showers as the session progresses on, but it's still fairly important to maybe get that bonus point, especially and apply it to the next round coming to the round of 7.
Yeah, without a doubt. As we look at the 83 of Joe Burgee, who had one of the best runs I think he's ever had here in iSCAR on Friday night, getting 3rd place here at this very racetrack in the truck race. So perhaps Burgee could build off of that night and maybe even go for perhaps his first ever win here in the league, and maybe join Cole Williams and drivers that have done that this weekend. But if he wants to be able to do that, he's going to have to go through some really stiff competition here tonight.
Yep, that is right. Basin logs in the first lap time on the board, and will be the only person, never mind that, joined by Michael Rosero, both of them fairly close. Lap time wise, only half a second off each other. Joe Burgee logs himself in, as well as Poindexter. So some lap times slowly creeping onto the board as the session progresses forward. See Christopher Wild there in that number 41 working himself forward. Nick Miller tops the charts. How about that?
Yeah, and for Burgee, just mentioned him a moment ago, he's also one of the 10 chasers here tonight. So if he were to actually capitalize and get that first win, it'd be even better for him in the points, because if he makes it to the round of 7, that'll be 3 extra bonus points that he would carry on to that round. And you just mentioned that 95 up to the top of the charts. Had an all-right night 2 nights ago. I think he showed up 2 nights ago. I might just be talking on my rear end right now. But he did have a pretty solid showing last night. I might be confusing the two. But we'll see what he can do here in tonight's race. But already off to a very fast start as his teammate in Weil makes his way through the carousel.
Yeah, Weil, Brendan Lightus, Cole Williams, all working around the racetrack. You saw how slow Weil and Cole were, as Cole's in the grass now, trying to get themselves situated. As you see here from the 12, Hunter Johnson off in the dirt. It's probably going to invalidate his lap, unfortunately, but
I think this is his first lap, though, so he has another shot here next time about to try to put a lap down. Of course, Hunter joined us in the booth last night. Decided to have a change of scenery here this week, and we'll see what he can do out on the track here tonight. Mentioned in the broadcast, road courses aren't really his forte, but we'll see how he fares over these next 41 laps. Here's Liam Sheen, who quite literally got home about 5 minutes before this session opened, so that one car barely got his way in, and considering he's in the chase, at those 5 minutes might have just saved himself from potentially being eliminated. So we'll see where he winds up, and for right now, it looks like it's going to be P6.
Cole working himself around the racetrack, just on the grass, and see the 12, Hunter Johnson yet to log in at least a solid lap. Christopher Wild doing so right now. And Joe Burgee seems as though he's logged in the lap time good enough to secure himself a top 3 spot for right now. So only 3 drivers yet who are on the racetrack who have yet to log in at least 1 lap. 41, 42, and 12. Currently, Christopher is going to cross the start-finish line. Going to see where he is.
P1 by 0.3 of a second. That was a really fast lap that he just put down. The first one under 1:14. So it's going to take quite the fast lap to dethrone him. And for right now, in the catbird seat for a very important bonus point, as the 12 is going to slide it, and that is going to be a big hit into the tires. And he is not going to be able to put a lap down. So 12 is going to have to probably start from the rear or somewhere in the field, depending on how the people that didn't qualify get randomized, but not the start of the night he was looking for.
Yep, that's unfortunate. It should be interesting. We still have a lot of fast names inside this top 5. I mean, Michael Bracero just came off of a nice podium position from the Charlotte Roval, and of course Joe Berge, you mentioned about him and his fantastic run, battling this number 41 of Christopher Weil. So who knows? They might meet up on the track again, and should be interesting to see how it'll all go as he gets a bit loose off the corner.
And out of the last turn, we'll see if Weil could maybe even improve on his first lap. Looks like he is not, but that's still a really, really good lap by 0.3 over his teammate Miller. As of right now, SPM is 1, 2, 3 on the chart, so they've brought some pretty fast cars here to tonight's event. As you look at the 08 of Basin, who again currently sits in that third spot, see if he can maybe snag the pole away from his teammate here out of the last turn.
Yeah, Basin, he too had a nice run at the Roval before falling through at a bad stop. Eventually regained that ground, but couldn't pass the man he was battling all night. So can't make that mistake again here tonight. And same lap count of what we had in the truck race, so I think it's still going to be at least a one-stop strategy coming halfway. But you know what Parker White did? He pit a bit early, and you know he thought he was using up a bit more fuel than the others, and unfortunately it caught him in the bad end, and he had to pit one more time. So should be interesting to see on what kind of strategy these drivers are going to elect around, and to see on who will come up top.
Bit of a slide there for Basin out of the bus stop. But yeah, that was really interesting to see, as the 08's going to probably bin it right there. Yeah, Cole Williams, I think, pit around lap 21, stayed out as long as possible, where the 095 had to pit, I think, around lap 17. And he ended up having to pit again. And that unfortunate strategy, or not the strategy, but the fact that he was using up more fuel ended up handing the win to that 42. So we'll see if a similar thing happens tonight, or maybe the 095 can try to get that situated and see if he can save fuel a bit better here tonight.
Should have to see. Still a minute and 10 remaining. It seems as though everybody who's logged in at least one lap has so. So we're going to zoom out and pull ourselves into the race analysis here for tonight. Of course, here live at Watkins Glen. iRacing track length measures at 2.42 miles. Track configuration is the Cup Circuit. Elevation around 1500 above sea level, and time of day is afternoon. And you see pit road 35 miles per hour. Tire sets 3. And fuel window should be about halfway, so we should see people hitting pit road, I'd say, around lap 20-ish. So, again, you could short pit it and maybe jump the gun with all the drivers staying out, but we'll just have to see on how it'll all turn out.
I long for a day where we could take stock cars out on the boot here, but that day will not be today. Track temp of 104, so it's going to be a pretty slick one here in the early going. We've already seen some people slip and slide during qualifying, so we'll see if that also occurs come race time. Oh, just under a minute remaining here in the session, and yeah, everyone that was going to put down a lap has already, but you know, track length roughly 2.45 miles, 7 turns, I think, according to the NASCAR layout of this track. 41 laps here for tonight equates to just a tad over 100 miles. Points leader coming into tonight is Hunter Johnson, of course, the only one with more than 6,000, courtesy of his win in the last round. And Hunter also the last winner here in this series at this track, but he's already had some trouble in his qualifying, so we'll see if he can defend that win, or if somebody could dethrone him tonight.
Just have to see as drivers come out for the warm-up session, looking around the racetrack, making last-second adjustments and such. Of course, for Liam Sheen, it's his only 5 minutes of practice he's going to get. So, see on how this one will do throughout this session. And I know he's, I wouldn't say a very prominent road course ringer, but he's always up there by the end of it. So this number one looking a bit fancy, and should be fun to see on how this one will perform here tonight.
Yeah, I think even though Liam is coming into tonight with pretty much no practice here for tonight, I would still expect that he's going to be up there and competitive for a good amount of the race. I don't know if he'll be able to win, but again, I do think he'll have a great shot. And it looks like the warm-up has been reduced to shenanigans, but not necessarily surprising there, but I think it's really interesting that for the second night in a row, we're got ourselves a setup where everybody's equal on points, with so few bonus points that those guys are able to pick up. So it makes it even harder to really even pull away from other people, since no one really has an advantage over anybody else going in.
Yeah, especially when this race doesn't have a lot of people in it. So that means coming next week, I think we're gonna go to Auto Club next week. I know a lot of people like Auto Club. We saw how the truck race went for that, but for everybody coming to Auto Club, if a lot of people show up there, and if they get in the wreck, it's gonna be hard for them to really pull forward and make something happen of it, because you know how the iSCAR points work. The amount of people that show up is the amount of points available for the race. Here tonight, I think 16 or 17 drivers showing up, so therefore either 16 or 17 points on the line. So you could have a full field or an overcapacity field, maybe at 62 coming next week. So who knows how it'll all go, but all eyes are probably going to be on that Auto Club race, and see on how many people show up for there.
Yeah, and again, with only 16 points on the line tonight, if you factor in all the bonus points available, I think the most amount of points that anybody could actually be behind going into next week is going to roughly be 20. So nobody's going to be mathematically eliminated after tonight's race, but you never know. I mean, if we have this few cars next week, it'll change a lot. But if you just mentioned we have a car come maybe around 50 or 55, it's going to really make this thing wide open. And I think it'll make the results tonight maybe a bit more, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but maybe a bit less meaningful. But either way, you don't want to slip up anywhere, because you never know how many people are going to be there next week.
Yep, that is right. So, seems as though only like a minute and 30 remaining in practice as of right now. If you're not just joining us here live for the Watkins Glen 100, iSCAR DeNise Design Series, round number 16 out of 20. Now, three-fourths of the way through the season. Coming down to closing time, and the rest of the schedule is going to go, by the looks of it, it's going to go through here tonight at Watkins Glen, next week's Auto Club, then Gateway, which is one of the very select few tracks that should play up for an interesting show. Now I've got back up Pocono for the round of 7 closer. And after that, Homestead coming next weekend. The build is around March as well, so coming for that time, it should play out to be interesting on what iRacing is going to tinker around with the cars before that Final Four hits. I mean, who knows? Your driving style might have to change before that Final Four hits.
That would certainly be interesting if the build coming out right around the championship weekend, and that could really play an impact, or really play a role into how these guys end up having to drive the track. You never know what could potentially change when builds come out, so
right,
that is certainly going to be something to keep an eye on when that release date hits. And that will do it here for the warm-up. So it is race time, and we'll get the starting lineup here for tonight's race in just a moment when these guys start to get gridded up.
Yep, that is right. Congratulations to the number 41 of Christopher Weil. He's going to start himself on the top row alongside the number 95 of Nick Miller, who is half a second slower, or actually 0.3.
Row 3, Dylan Basin in the 08, and Joe Burgee, who got third here 2 nights ago.
Row number 3 is going to be Michael Bracero in 5th spot. William Schmidt right alongside him.
Row 4, Liam Sheen, who just really got himself into the session here for tonight, and Carson Poindexter in the 21.
Row number 5, and the last row we're going to read off, the number 70, Harry Grendel, as well as Parker White right alongside of him. The first one to not log in a time. The rest of the orders are going to be shown on your screen. Find your favorite driver, and hopefully they'll win here for tonight. Don't have to really scroll back too far, because only 8 rows to line up for tonight's race, and should be fun to see on how it'll all turn out, especially with very little drivers on the racetrack.
Yeah, a bit of a more unique scenario here for tonight's race, as you mentioned it, not a lot of people here for tonight, so again, you can't really afford a slip up. I mean, you won't be as much a oh geez, I can't speak at all tonight. You won't be as much of at as much of a disadvantage if you have a problem, but again, you don't want to have mistakes no matter who or how many people are in the field. Dylan Basin, the highest non-chaser here on the starting grid, will start behind his two teammates who are in this chase. Just mentioned Joe Burgee trying to improve on his third place run 2 nights ago and get some maybe valuable bonus points as he tries to get on to the round of 7.
Should be fun, especially as I said, it looks like 15 drivers. Kevin White Jr. in the number 13 does not grid up for tonight. Christopher Wild is number 41. Again, he gets the extra bonus point for starting himself off the top, so if he does transfer over to the next round, to the round of 7, this number 41 is definitely to carry a bit of momentum. And he could also win this race tonight, so I mean 4 extra bonus points to the round of 7 rather than just, you know, the only 1 single point. And of course you get points counted toward this playoff round, leading laps, leading most laps, getting 0 incidents, as well as they run through the bus stop, trying to keep it easy on their tires. Again, we're going to go over race analysis here on the right side of your screen. It's going to be 41 laps we're going to log in for tonight. 100 miles in length, 100.45. Last winner was just last week, Hunter Johnson in the number 12. And I think the last person to win here at Watkins Glen, I think was we actually didn't run Watkins Glen last season. We did run it in season number 3, in which Joe Annunziata went to victory lane. So, and of course he unfortunately not in the league, but if he does make a return, to do here at this racetrack would be a charm to him. And here we go, getting set to go green for 41 laps.
And the SPM teammates of Christopher Weil and Nick Miller lead us to the green as the pace car gets out of the field's way, because we don't need it anymore, and we're off and rolling here at Watkins Glen for 41 laps to see who will get themselves in a good position to advance on to the round of 7 next week.
Ready, 3 wide action. Liam Sheen splits the middle. Near contact as Rosera hits the apron. Joe,
Virgie.
Big overshoot. The 83 goes from 4th all the way to the near dead last. But in the meantime of that, side-by-side for this spot, Liam Sheen works himself through in the top 5. Also side-by-side racing with Poindexter and looks like Schmidt as well. But off down into the back straightaway. All eyes are on this number 41 of Christopher Weil and Nick Miller, who's going to get the best of it off of lap number 1.
Yeah, an early slip up there from Burgee, but you know, of course, we're literally halfway through the first lap of the race, so still bountiful time to try to recover from that, but not the way you want to start off the night. But it looks like he's picked up some front end damage, and you see that rear end damage to Hunter. So I would assume that those two probably ran into each other somewhere, but hopefully that does not affect either of those cars in a bad way.
Harry Grendel currently holding this 6th spot over this 42 as we see some battling up here up front. The 23 of Mark Rosero is trying to get the best of looks like Dylan Basin, but can't make it happen. Off the final corner, side-by-side racing right behind. It's going to be the 42 and 70 going to go at it. And looks like the 42 of Cole is trying to underbrake the corner, but Harry outbraking this 42, and he gets the best of him into 1. And Harry keeps the spot for right now, but look at the line right behind. It's sort of everybody following the 70 all the way back to this number 21 of Poindexter.
Yeah, it was a good job there by Grindle defending that spot and defending a point that would have been taken away from him had he lost that spot. But look at that. He's got a row of 4 consecutive chasers right behind him, so he has to really be on his A game here, because if he slips up at all, like he might have just did a bit there, that's quickly 4 or 5 points that'll go right down the drain. So with over half of this field being chasers, these guys are probably going to be a lot more aggressive than what we saw on Friday night.
Yeah, definitely. This round is, this race right here is probably going to determine the setup for Auto Club coming next week, and who knows how many people are going to show up to that Auto Club race. Should be interesting to see on how it'll all turn out, as Cole a bit sideways off there as Parker White tries to gun him down. But up front, though, it's all this number 41 of Christopher Weil, who's trying to scoot away from the 95, and Miller can't really shake him off in the windshield for right now. Miller's been staying close up and personal, only 0.5 right behind this number 41.
Yeah, the 41 is not getting away the way the 095 of Parker White did 2 nights ago, but already up to around a half-second lead, so a bit of breathing room, but not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, because any little slip-up from Weil could easily put that 95 up into the lead. So SPM still 1, 2, 3 in the order that they started. We'll see if they can finish there in 38 laps from now.
See how low Miller is on the carousel. Dylan Basin scoots himself up to the backside of this number 95. He wants him to go away. Basin, not a chaser, and of course, indicated by the blue banners around the screen. In the background, you see some side-by-side racing, and one of them a non-chaser as well. Parker White in the 095, working around the 70 of Grindle. He's probably got to get the better of him into the 7th and final corner. Looks like maybe.
So Grindle drops 2 spots there, lost 1 to Cole, and now loses 1 to Parker. So 2 valuable points there for the 70 are now gone for the time being, and he's got another chaser right behind him there in William Schmidt in the 79. So the 70 needs to try to keep more cars behind him, and he really overshoots turn 1, and he might drop 3 more here to William, Virgie, and Hunter. So Grindle just lost 5 points there in about half a lap. So he's got to get that gathered up and get it pointed in the right direction and try to pick up those spots again.
Yeah, Harry, it seems as though that car is just getting out from under him, unfortunately. And the 70 is losing a lot of spots. Now loses 1 to, finally, this number 12, Hunter Johnson, who's slowly progressing himself through the field. Berge gets into the grass off the bus stop. In the meantime, that top 3 still relatively close. Christopher Weil, as I said, hasn't really shaken out this 95 of Miller just yet. And you see Dylan Basin right behind, is trying to scoot himself to the backside of him too, and might be a 3-car battle for this top spot. And of course, as a non-chaser for Dylan Basin, got nothing to lose, might as well battle for the lead and rile up these chasers just a bit. But as a chaser, you don't want to see that non-chaser Basin right behind you. That's literally I'd say the last thing you want to see. A lot of racing morales, and Miller dead sideways off of turn number 1. He's going to lose 1 to Basin.
Yeah, and Miller had started to close that gap on Weil. It was around 0.6 of a second, and now it was down as the 2 of them almost make contact there in the middle of the S's. But the 95 will hold on for now. And the S's, I think, are one of the more dangerous places on the track in terms of wrecking. I think they might be a bit more narrow, and with the elevation change, it's had some pretty messy wrecks there before. But hopefully that was one averted for now. But you have to remember that these top 3 are all teammates, so there could be some potential, teamwork going on here. I know Basin probably wants to try to get those spots, but they might all be working together and be like, hey man, don't pass me, I need the point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we saw something similar once Basin got into that number 41 of Weil last night on accident. Basin ended up letting by this number 41 and would flung up team orders and such like that, but Basin felt guilty of accidentally dumping that 41 out of that spot and ended up letting him by. Of course, a nod as a teammate and respect on the racetrack.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the deal, we just saw at the Daytona 500 with Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski, because I'm sure Brad was not very happy with Joey after that last lap incident. So, I mean, stuff like that happens with teammates sometimes. Considering you're all out on the racetrack at the same time, that stuff's kind of unavoidable. Where in the back of your head that even though they're teammates, they're probably going to run into each other at some point in time, and you just have to try to put it behind you and move on as quickly as possible, and hope no grudges come out of it. But I don't think that would be the case here. I don't think that would be something that would be or maybe used against someone further down the road, especially as a teammate.
Yeah, that's right. Liam Sheen currently rounds himself out in 5th spot, sideways off the carousel. Loses a bit of time as they're side by side right behind as well. Hunter Johnson and William Schmidt going at it. I think Hunter finally got the spot over this number 79, but Sheen got really sideways off the carousel. And that's a very fast portion of the track as Miller is under fire from Rosero, and seems as though Basin slipped up somewhere, and he's now fallen to 4th.
That 23, I think, is one of the fastest ones on track right now. You mentioned him just get by that 08, now gunning for 2nd place on the 95, but you know Miller's going to try to block as much as possible to try to keep those two non-chasers behind him. So if that 23 is a lot faster than the 95, I think speed will eventually prevail here.
Yep, that is correct. I definitely agree on you with that. As see the exit points of all of those 3 vehicles, all sort of different. Miller right up against the white line as Rosero wanted to take a flatter arc through, but not enough as, oh, Basin, big overshoot through the bus stop. He's gonna scrub the tire trying to get it on the racetrack, and unfortunate for him, he's gonna lose some time to Liam Sheen as well in the process. So mistakes like those could probably cost you the race, because there's not gonna be any cautions in this one. So you gotta be consistent and gotta be safe as well, and keep yourself up in position to take this one all the way to the checkered flag.
Yeah, we've already seen Harry Grindle slip up and lose 4 or 5 spots tonight, so you don't want to have that happen too many times to too many different people. And looks like something's happened to Brandon Lightus in the 51, currently showing 3 laps down, so he was on track, but I wonder if he may have ended up spinning it somewhere and disconnecting. So we're down to 14 cars out on the track, but with the 51 likely out of the race, it means that all these chasers, that's 1 less point that they could potentially lose to their competitors.
William Schmidt in the 79 rounds himself out. Currently 9th place on lap number 8. Battling out with the 83 of Joe Berkey. Carson Poindexter as well as Malachi Drake far away is behind this that whole group. Up front, though, it seems as though Wow has pulled himself a comfortable lead after Miller's slip up in 2nd place. Rosero, as I said, he had a nice top 3 out of the Roval, and has now found himself in 3rd spot and trying to take it away from the 95 of Miller. And he has a run here off the carousel. See where he's going to go, left or right.
And I think there's 2 real approaches that the 23 could take. I mean, he could be really aggressive and maybe try to move that 95 out of the way, or he can maybe try to take a more conservative approach where he might just try to pressure the 95 into making a mistake where he can capitalize on it. So with road racing, I think those are the 2 main philosophies that people try to use when they race, where either you're going to just flat out move a guy, or you're going to try to just make sure that you can pressure them into a mistake. And speaking of one, I think the 95 went a bit wide there. So we'll see what the 23 decides to do, but still think he's the faster car so far as he tries to get himself another runner-up spot.
Battle. Have a bit of battling here for this 5th spot. Liam Sheen is losing some ground to that Eel Media Racing machine of Cole Williams. So this fight into the bus stop might be brewing as Cole lurks himself to the backside of this number 1, but there not a lot of passing opportunities through there, but off the carousel, maybe into this corner might be one. But Cole was the Watkins Glen Truck Series winner. This number 42 showed a lot of speed, and he proved it over Parker White after a missed strategy on his part brought him into 2nd place. But this number 42, Cole Williams, I wouldn't say he's out of the fight just yet. He's only, I'd say, 6.3 seconds behind this number 41 of Wild, but currently boxed in.
Someone just went off back there. That's Schmidt. Looks like he may have just locked him up and completely overshot. I think that's turn 6, so we'll have to try to recover from that, but...
Oh!
Oh, and contact there with Cole, and he holds on.
Yeah, Sheen is not pleased.
Yeah, they are not done yet. They're still side by side here through the S's. We'll see if Liam decides to pinch that 42 down, and he definitely is. Oh, and around goes the 1, and he will keep it going, but that's going to drop him some spots as Hunter Johnson goes by Liam, and that pinching was a tough or a bad call there because the 42 ended up getting into him, and around he went, but that 1 was lucky that he was able to straighten that out as quickly as possible, because if he had gone all the way around, those 3 cars behind him would have also gotten by him.
Yeah, that's right. He straightened it up quickly, but, pinching comes at a price. If that number 42 didn't really want to give, and he couldn't give too much because how low Liam was pinching him down, and eventually those two made contact, and around the one sort of went, but Liam's gonna retain 8th spot for right now, but unfortunately his tires are probably gonna be shot, and this number 83 Joe Berge is gonna take probably gonna take a spot here soon, and yeah, that one has faded ever since off of the S's, and now in jeopardy of losing 9th now.
Yeah, we'll see if this ends up changing the strategy that the one was going to employ, because we could see a scenario where maybe he decides to short pit to try to stay on those older tires as little time as possible. But we saw 2 nights ago, short pitting didn't necessarily work out, and Cole was already running top 3 for all of that race. That wasn't a fluke win by any means, but the strategy ended up working out in his favor. So we'll see, again, if Liam decides to short pit, knowing that it may not put him good on fuel to the end.
Miller is still in reaching distance as number 41, so these top 2 could elect with some different strategy. Miller could come in 1 lap earlier and sort of make up the time that Weil is spending out on the racetrack, and Miller is fast enough to get to that number 41 of Weil, and Weil that number 93, 95 was catching, but unfortunately a miscue off the bus stop sort of opened up that gap to 2.7 seconds, and it's yet to move. Miller's been consistent from this point forward. Don't want to really jinx him, but who knows what might happen. Weil may make a mistake as well, and off he goes and such. But this 95 and 41, since they're similar on pace, I'd say they might be contrasting strategies to get themselves. Oh my goodness, a 23 Rosero just about off-tracked it off the S's. But if these two have contrasting strategies, it's going to be interesting who's going to come out top.
Yeah, that's for sure. Is these two right here, Rosero and Basin, still pretty close to each other, and it took Weil a bit to finally shake off his teammate, but it looks like he's finally done that and opened up a bigger lead. As Poindexter there in the 21 in 10th place, kind of all by himself right now, as Weil continues to pace this field here, coming to lap number 13.
The gap between himself and Miller is slowly starting to grow now. 3 seconds separate these two, but still on the windshield, so as long as he's in viewing distance, this 95 isn't out of it just yet. As well as this 23 in 08 to Basin and Rosero, and two non-chasers going to go at it for this 3rd spot. I'm sure all those chasers right behind him, I'm sure hope to have the pace of this number 23 in 08 to keep themselves in reaching distance, but oh, Rosero made a mistake off of the exit, right in the center of the S's. Basin is going to scoot himself to the high side, so oh, what a send there by Basin. We'll see if he can secure the spot through. And he does so.
23 gets a bit off there, but a great pass there for Basin puts him back into 3rd. But Rosero's not going to let him go easy. That 23 is still right there, and it slides there out of the carousel. So that'll lose him some time to the 08, but we know that 23's got speed, so it wouldn't surprise me if a couple laps he's right back up to the 08's bumper again, as Carson already on pit road, and I think he may have hit some tires.
Yeah,
that front end looks like it's gone.
Yeah, it definitely is gone. We'll have to see on what happened to this number 21 of Poindexter and wow,
right
that is
barrels. Oh no,
he got loose at probably the worst point of the racetrack.
Yeah, that's one of those things. At first, it might have looked like he was making a last-minute decision to pit, but then, it was just him getting loose. And of all the places you could have hit after getting loose, you end up right into the barrels. And unfortunately for Carson, that is going to be it for him tonight. But the silver lining is with only, he's going to finish in 14th place. And with the winner, I think, only getting like 20 points at the most, at least for right now, he's not going to be in as big of a hole as he would be if this is around a 40-car field. So he still has a shot next week, but he'll have to really put in the work to try to get himself into the next round now.
Yeah, he's back on the racetrack as well. This number 21 trying to survive and see if anybody has some severe issue and has to tow it or something like that. The 21 did have to tow it, but his engine wasn't destroyed. He was just stuck in the barriers. He couldn't back it out and get himself situated back on the racetrack, but
he got lucky.
Yeah.
Because that easily could have been race ending, but I think what he's going to do now is similar to what Michael Bianchini did last night at the Charlotte Roval, where he's either down on RPM or just maybe not very good at the track and just try to tough it out to the end and hope some more people end up retiring from the race and just try to pick up spots that way. So we'll see if the 21 is down in the RPM, which I'm sure he is, but over these next 26 laps at this point, he's probably going to hope for people to retire. As you have a battle here for second, teammates going at it here as Basin and Miller will be side by side here going into the bus stop, and it looks like the 08 is going to take that spot. So going from fourth to second here over these last handful of laps, and the 95 might fall into the hands of Rosero now, and indeed he does. Side by side into the carousel.
Oh, no!
And around the 95 goes off the bumper the 23, and this is going to cost him a lot of time as the cars go up high to miss him, as now he backs it up and tries to get it going, but this is going to cost him a lot of spots, a lot of time, and a lot of tire wear, so a bit of a worst case scenario there for Nick Miller, as in a half a lap he's gone from second to around 10th, and Burgie's now very slow too.
Yeah, man. Similar like what we saw with Liam Sheen and Cole Williams, but Nick went around and Rosero saw the hole open. I mean, he had the run, he had the nose in there, and Miller, he just came down and eventually had to be contact made, and the 95 took the brunt of it. And as this all happened, Joe Berge had an issue as well.
Let's see. And he just spun it out of the carousel, and and backs it into the tires and
gets it straight.
Wow, that looked like it didn't even give him any damage. That thing looks almost spotless, even though he backed into the tires. So I guess a bit of luck there on the 83 side, even though he lost a spot back to Miller.
How about this crawl through by the 095 of Parker White? He started himself in 10th. Cole Williams right behind him as well, as they passed around Michael Rosero. And these two drivers, Parker White and Cole Williams, they still have a viable shot to get at the leader. I mean, it's 8 seconds though to this number 41, but they're there, and we're yet to cross the halfway point. So 8 seconds. I mean, 8 seconds is definitely doable in this scenario. So this 095 and 42 just have to play the strategy right. Don't want to stay yourself out too long. Just hit yourself on a pit road and get yourself in and out. And I think Parker isn't a chaser, but Cole is, and you know how dominant Cole was during the regular season. This number 42 didn't pick up a victory, but he was one of the points leaders at the end of it. And this number 42, he's already called himself into fourth and trying to make it 2 in a row here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, him and Josh Patterson were going at it for the entirety of the regular season, going back and forth for the points lead. And again, even though he didn't pick up a win, consistency definitely is key, and that's allowed him to get himself here into this round of 10. And if he can finish where he is, maybe even get 1 or 2 more spots, that'll set him up really nicely going into next week at Auto Club, as he's not side by side, but almost to the bumper of the man he beat 2 nights ago, Parker White. And they were running in this order when Parker decided to pit on this lap. So we'll see if that repeats itself. But for right now, the 095 still in front and trying to go back-to-back after taking the win last night.
Curious to see what lap they're going to hit. Christopher hits a 17.2. Parker is going to cross the start-finish line 16.7. So they're faster than this number 41 of Wallen. Cole, of course, considering he's following in that 095's tire tracks, he too is on the same pace, but he sort of has, I wouldn't say a brick to pass around. This 08 a base, and he too is faster than Christopher Weil. So Weil did not have a great last lap, and that gap slowly starting to close, but the gap between himself and that 08 is 4.8 seconds still.
And the 095 is gaining a little bit on the 42, but, still plenty of time, still half the race remaining for Cole to try to get that spot. And over these next couple laps, we're probably going to start to see pit stops happening. Parker pit, I believe, on lap 17. 2 nights ago, Cole pit, I think, on lap 21. So somewhere in that time frame, we're going to see pretty much all of these cars down on pit road. And Malachi Drake looks like he just went through the bus stop. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, he was blinking out severely, and I think he had to go through the bus stop to prevent from running into Schmidt. I thought he disconnected, but now finds himself back on the racetrack and is in 11th place. You see the gap between that number 41 and 08. Just 5 seconds separate these two, and it's another 3 to these couple of drivers right behind, and another second and a half to Michael Brazzero and Hunter Johnson, who seems as though he's found something with the car, and he finally has the grip on it, and is working himself forward now, trying to gun in for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, Hunter, we saw the issues he had in qualifying, where he ended up hitting the tires on his second lap, but you see that rear end damage he's had for pretty much the entire race so far. But pretty much just capitalizing right now on other drivers' mistakes as he gets himself up to the rear bumper now of the 23 of Brazzero. So I think Hunter might be one of those that's just going to try to take it easy to the end, but with the amount of other people that have been having mistakes so far tonight, has got himself in a much better position than he was at the start of this race.
Basin is slowly starting to slip back. That gap just opened up by a whole entire second this last lap. And this 08 might be fading, and he's gonna take that fade on the pit road, scoots himself on right, and pit stops are open right in front of him. Another man on in. That's the 41 of Weil. Your leader is on pit road, and it seems as though a bit earlier than what I anticipated. So a lap earlier is gonna bring them a longer half. And I don't think this 41 was a longer run car, so I'm not sure why the 41 is electing on with a pit stop earlier on this mark, but in and out he goes, and Liam's also in.
Looks like the 42, the 095, and the 1's overshot his pit stall, but the 42, the 095, and the 23 all currently standing out on the racetrack, at least for a lap. So a smart call there for the 42, I believe. I don't know if he led the lap at the line, but if he did, that's a valuable bonus point for him, as he got by the 095 of Parker White at some point, so he might have slipped up somewhere. But that could be critical after these guys make their stops. We'll see if that 42 decides to come in this time. And out of turn 7, the answer to that question is yes. It just makes it down on the pit road, as Brazzero will file in as well, and Hunter Johnson. So the top 4 now will make their way down onto pit road, and for the 42, that was a bit of a close call there.
Yeah, what a pit stop entrance by that number 42, and easily on in. Parker White also sliding it on in. Hunter Johnson right behind and passing all those cars is Michael Brazzero, but the man who's going to say himself out, the 95 and Miller, who I do not think led the lap, because those drivers who were on pit road were crossing the start-finish line before this 95, so if the 95 does want to get an extra bonus point, he's going to have to say himself out a bit longer than what he wants to. So drivers working themselves off of pit road right now, and you see the 78 Grindle lone car on the pit road, but it's going to be interesting to see on what one lap can do for Christopher Weil and for all these other drivers out on the racetrack. What kind of difference they're gonna be making.
As Weil is going to probably get by Joe Burgee here in the 83, who still hasn't made his pit stop yet. So Weil will easily get by him there on those fresher tires. We'll take that second spot back. And there's the 95 on the bottom of your screen. So the 41, if Miller doesn't pit this time, might get by him before he even makes his pit stop. But with that 41 right there, I'm sure the 95 will probably come down this time and out of turn 4. The answer to that question is no, so looks like he will be staying out one more lap and will get the bonus point this time. So not, in that regard, surprised. But the 41, again, he might get by his teammate before Miller makes it around again to pit.
And that was Miller's only opportunity to get that extra bonus point. He had to stay out a lap longer because that number 41 was flying through. And with oh, Corey Long hits the wall.
Oh, that was close at Burge, and I think he just towed it there to get out of everybody's way. But that could have been disastrous.
Yeah, he got loose off the S's portion, and
That
Bergie was right on the scene.
Too. That was right in front of his teammate Weil. We'll see what happened here coming out of the S's. And looks like he just lost it, I think. Round he goes into the inside guardrail, flies up the hill, and there's Bergie! Just missed him! And I'm sure he'll probably pit this time, but man, that was close. And now Miller will make his way down pit road, and Weil will retake the lead here, coming to 19 to go. And I'm sure the 83 will file in right behind him, as I think that's Schmidt also making his way down pit lane.
Man, yeah, that... What could have been dangerous is... Seems as though the gap between Christopher and Dylan has expanded just a bit. Joe's still staying out on the racetrack. He's going to be a bit of a hiccup to this number 42 of Cole, who has to take the longer route around the racetrack. Near contact there as White flings right. And the gap between Cole and Parker just closed up because Bergie was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Not the Bergie's fault, of course. He's running up here for a reason due to his strategy call, but man, that definitely cost Cole some time, and now that gap, 8.6 seconds between himself and Weil. But you know, he sees Basin in the mirror. I mean, he sees Basin out the front windshield, and Basin might be under fire here for the second spot. So
I don't know about that strategy call from Burge, though. He's sitting in 5th place and still hasn't made his way down pit road yet. And at this point, he's just losing more and more time to everybody else out on the racetrack, since I think he might be the only car left that hasn't pit yet. And it looks like he'll finally come down pit road this time, but I think he's going to end up further back than he was before these pit stops started. And especially since he spun early when he backed into the tires, I'm surprised he stayed up this long on those older tires. So, don't know what his thought process was, but hopefully it'll work out for him, especially since he's one of our chasers here.
you see the intervals between Cole Williams, Dylan Bass, and Christopher Weil. Weil was the slowest out of the three, so 18 laps to make something happen, and the gap between second and first, 6 seconds. And for Cole Williams, has fresher tires than this top two, as well as Parker White right behind. So Parker and Cole have to make work of this 08 efficiently to maybe have a shot for the win, because with Cole on fresher tires, of course, 08 on older tires, Basin's gonna have to hold off as much as he can for that position, but it's gonna be tough on how it'll all work out for this for the second spot. But 17 laps to go this time by. The gap between Weil and Basin, 6 seconds.
Yeah, the 41 absolutely dominating this race here tonight, and has led every lap except for those handful during the pit strategy. And for right now, if he just hits his marks the way he is and runs the rest of this race mistake-free, I think he's well on his way to picking up another victory. But of course, it's still 16 and a half laps to go, so by no means are we going to pencil in that 41 for the win, but the odds right now are definitely in his favor.
Corey goes up the racetrack and to let the 42, Cole and Parker by. Great stop. Great way to, great spot on the racetrack to let lead lap drivers by. Cole and Parker weren't really hiccuped as much lapping that number 93. So Cole still has a viable shot to get at Payson, but Parker is starting to close that gap between himself and Cole, so now 16 laps to go. There's the gap.
Mentioned Carson Poindexter earlier, and when he hit those tires and how he was pit barrels, and how he was going to basically just try to stay out the rest of the race and hope for some spots. Even though he's still on track, the deal with Corey Long spinning out of the S's, he's now 2 laps down, so Carson gained a spot in that whole exchange. So even though it's only 1 spot, and it's pretty cliche, 1 point can make that much of a difference. So by the 21 staying out the way he has, he's got himself another point that he may not have otherwise gotten had he just, maybe rage quit after hitting those barrels. So I'm sure he might have wanted to do that, and I wouldn't have blamed him at all.
I wouldn't have blamed him either.
Yeah, it's almost like you know something about hitting pit barrels.
Wow. Okay.
What, are you going to tell me I'm wrong?
Wow.
Boo.
Fantastic.
15 to go here this time by, so in the closing stages here of this race, Basin's still running pretty there in second after starting a spot behind, but I think the 42 and the 095 definitely are starting to catch that 08, so this could be a pretty good 3-car battle here in these next couple of laps, and if those 3 start to battle, that'll probably just make Wild lead increase even more.
Yeah, that's right. See here. Oh, Basin, big overshoot right there. Cole's definitely going to have the position into the corner.
Should be an easy pass for the 42, but I think the 08's trying to pinch as much as possible to try to hold on to that spot. And they're going to exit side by side out of the carousel. So Basin did a great job there of pinching, and that's going to let him hold on to the spot for now. But I think this 42 is going to probably want to get by that 08 as quick as possible because he knows that 095 is waiting in the wings right behind him.
And this is valuable track time. This number 42 needs to catch this number 41 of Christopher Wallen. 42, again, as I said, he has to make quick work of Basin, but unfortunately got held back in the carousel, and that could probably hold you 3, 4, maybe even 5 tenths back of what potentially could be grabbed off of that lead. And not only is Basin holding up this number 42, Parker White is waiting in the wings as well to make this a 3-car battle for the second spot. And oh man, it's about to get spicy here as the laps are starting to wind down. The intensity rate, as I said, is starting to ramp up.
Yeah, the opportunities to pass are starting to become few and far between with how spaced out this field is and with how few laps there are. I mean, the 42, I would assume, is probably going to take a more aggressive approach than you would have in this situation if this is around lap 3 or 4. But with this being almost at lap 30 as the 93 of Corey back on pit road again, I think the 42 might press the issue a lot more than he would if this was happening earlier. And especially since the 095 is right there, the 42 definitely wants this point away from Basin, but he can't do it too bad where he ends up losing a spot and losing 2 potential points. So gonna be some real mind games, I think, played here between those 3. Basin slides out at turn 7, and Cole have a shot up high.
And the corner they go. Who's going to outbreak the other? Cole just shoved it into one. It looks like Parker White's trying to follow in the process. What a strategic move by Parker to also fit in line right behind this 42. And finally, Cole takes the position, and Basin's going to fall out, most likely out of the podium. Never mind, he's going to keep 3rd place for right now. But Parker just about ghostly pushed this number 42. I don't even know if that's a word, but he gave an invisible push to that number 42 to pressure him to pass through for that spot. And now with Cole in 2nd and Basin fading. That was a big slide through the corner, and here comes Parker.
And this is for 3rd. And looks like he's going to get it. Parker White trying to finish on the podium all 3 races this week, but hasn't quite completed that pass on Basin yet. And while these 2 are side by side, that's allowing the 42 of Cole to pull even further ahead, as we got 2 non-chasers battling here. So Cole, I'm sure, definitely glad that he's gotten by these two and that they waited to battle until he was way in the clear. And this could be one of the best battles of the racetrack. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's probably one of the more entertaining ones here as this race comes closer to being complete.
Also got a battle right behind. Michael Brazzero and Hunter Johnson get to go at it. These two fairly close, and you see Brazzero, he scooted himself right, trying to make a pass on the 12, and the 12 in turn went a bit lower than what he wanted to. Brazzero's going to have a run into the S's, but seems as though he's going to be boxing in line. Didn't get a good exit off of 1, even though he got the better line off the corner, but he's still in touch with us, number 12. This fight for 5th isn't over.
No, it is not, and I'm sure, I mean, Hunter really needs to keep that 23 behind him. You know, the Brazzero being a non-chaser doesn't really change the urgency for Hunter, as Hunter needs as many points as possible, but even if he ends up finishing exactly where he is, and even if he loses a spot to Brazzero, I mean, compared to what we saw him in practice and qualifying, the fact that he's running top 5 right now, despite this track, you know, not really being his best one, still goes to show you how much talent that 12 really has, because he can take a, you know, maybe a pretty crappy situation and still try to find the positives in it, and doing a pretty good job of that so far tonight.
Some close battles that we have on the racetrack. The battle for 7th is 1.4 seconds between Miller and Sheen, 1.1 seconds between Berge and Schmidt, and Malachi Drake sort of left on his own as of right now, and who knows, this battle for the lead is still relatively close, as here we go, on for 3rd. Parker has now skewed himself to the backside of Basin yet again. Another shot to grab the podium spot, but Basin holding strong for right now in that flying arrows machine. What could Parker White do to pass him through? Maybe coming to that carousel.
Yeah, the carousel's been one of the, I think, the best passing opportunities here if you can get a good enough run out of the bus stop. But looks like Parker didn't quite get there. But I think he'll have another shot perhaps in a turn 6 as we get a rear view camera here of the 08 Basin as he goes down this little straightaway here. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I know it has a name, as Parker tries to close in that gap once again. And I think he did take about a 10th or so off. And like I said, I think this is going to be probably the most intense battle out on the racetrack as this race comes to a close. Not even chasers either.
Yep, that's right. And these non-chasers putting on a show for 3rd. Basin got loose off of the 7th corner, but luckily held on to it. Last lap time was a 1.16, but that gap for the lead, it's closing. Wild hit a 116.4. Cole, 115.8. So he's chomping away that lead. It's nearly less than 5 seconds. I mean, less than 6 seconds now. If Cole goes at this pace, he could get by this 41 and upset a victory for the round of 7 to get those 3 extra bonus points. So it ain't over for the lead just yet. Cole is flying.
Yeah, and this is why I said do not pencil in that 41 for the win, even though he has a lead that big. And even though it was a much bigger gap and it really wasn't going to be made up at all, we saw Parker White in the last 10 laps of Friday night's race make the lead between him and Cole go from around 26 seconds down to 13. But this time, the gap that Cole has to close is only about 6 compared to 26. And I don't know if he's going to close in at the rate that Parker was 2 nights ago. But him getting there might be a bit more feasible than I at first thought it was going to be, as these two continue to go at it here, coming to 9 to go.
Yeah, that's right. And Cole, I got now to 5.6. It's closing. And he has 9 laps to make something off of it. Dylan Basin is slower than this top 2, and Parker is just wanting to get by this 08 Basin. That fight for seconds, it's faded. And this 095 is eager to get himself inside this top 3. Has a lot of opportunities too, but Dylan is just playing the road course right, cutting off all those passing opportunities. And here's another one up into this bus stop. If you want to make a pass into the carousel, you have to back yourself through that bus stop. But that bus stop, again, very important through to get yourself a lot of speed into that carousel. It seems as though he didn't do so there. He's lost at least 4 tenths to Basin now, but 5.3 seconds is the gap to Christopher Weil, and Weil has to be sweating now, seeing this 42 slowly starting to chomp away from his lead.
Let's see, I think that was around 0.6 of a second he gained on that lap, and I think at this rate, with 8 to go, let's see where the... So it looks like it's almost around 5.2. So if he gains 0.6 per lap, I think that's going to put him around 4.8 if we average it out. So that's going to roughly be almost the entirety of Chris's lead if the 42 can keep up this pace. So it is not out of the question at all that Cole can get there. It'd be quite the battle if he does.
He just needs to, I mean, I don't want him to push too much because he's going to wear his tires to getting... Oh, big slip up right there. Cole's going to take the off track. And that's
going to hurt him a lot.
Not only that, he's going to have to give up a bit of time because he cut the course.
Yeah, I don't know.
That might have sealed it for a while.
I think that might have done it right there, but... I mean, winning 2 nights ago and potentially finishing second, though, still nothing to be ashamed of at all. Still a phenomenal weekend, nonetheless, for Cole. But in terms of winning tonight, I think that right there might have sealed the deal. But you know what? It's even too early to say that because for all we know, that 41 could do the exact same thing before this thing's over.
But he's been flawless. I mean...
Don't you jinx him.
But he has been. That is he's just been flawless. But... Cole, on the other hand, not only does, oh man, actually, I'm looking at Cole's incidents. He's sitting at 16x right now. So, not only can he be mistake-free for these final 7 laps, if he gets an incident, it's wraps for him. He has to come down on the pit road and give up that second spot. So, do you want to risk yourself getting a potential 1x? Getting to that win, or do you want to keep yourself in second and just survive?
See, that's going to be really, really something to keep an eye out on, but that also brings up another point where even if the 42 does manage to get to the 41, you know, if he was thinking, oh, maybe I can try to do a bump and run on Chris to get the win, with him sitting on a 16x, that is now out of the window. Because if he gets there and, you know, goes to move the 41 to take the lead, that could be a 4x as a result of that contact. So, in terms of the 42's options of trying to get by the 41, if he does manage to get back up there in these last 6 laps, his options are going to be much more limited.
Luckily for him, I mean, this race has been... It's obviously going to go green from start to finish, so... Cole has 4 seconds to Basin, another 2/10 to Parker, 6 seconds to Hunter, another 6 seconds to Hunter, another 5 seconds to Michael, and another 10 to Miller. So, at most, if he does have to serve a drive-through, he's gonna have to probably, Oh, he got 17x. That was an off-track on the entrance of the bus stop. Oh, no! Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's going to put Basin back into second. So that battle between those two is going to go from third to second now. And Parker is there.
He's been there.
Well, now he's there. There.
I mean, he's been knocking on the door again. He's Basin's just playing his cards outright. And Cole will... Oh, I mean, he was sluggish off of this, the final corner. It seems as though he just... mistook the entry. I
wonder if he's going to try to stay out the rest of the race and maybe roll the dice by trying to appeal some of those incidents after the race.
Oh, no. I don't think that's going to happen because that's, it's not an iSCAR rule. That's iRacing that's black flagging him. So, it's either admin A has to clear him or he's going to have to serve the penalty. But, I mean... As much as he'd like to protest, it's an iRacing thing that he's protesting, so it's nothing the iSCAR admins can really argue with, since at the end of the day, that's iRacing at its finest. So
maybe he's gonna try to put some more distance between himself and the 2 cars behind him, and everybody else out on the racetrack before he comes down. He might be trying to stay out an extra lap or two, so maybe trying to minimize how much time he loses. But
That's right.
I would assume he'll probably come in this time by, as there's Weil exiting turn 7. So Cole had gotten it down to 4.7 seconds, but that's going to be all for naught here. And looks like he's going to stay out again. So indeed, he might be trying to put as much distance between himself and Basin and company back there before he decides to make his way down pit road.
Yeah, and you get, I think, 3 or 4 laps until you really have to serve that penalty. So, Cole has to use the opportunity right now under his black flag scenario to maybe make something off of it. No, we're never on to that. Throw everything we just said out the window. Garrett has our in-race admin said 22x is drive-through, so it ain't over yet.
Oh.
Yeah, so never mind.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he still wants to minimize the amount of off tracks he gets. I mean, it is still possible over these last 4 laps to get 5 off tracks to get up to a 22, but
yeah, I mean, he's at 19 now.
Yeah, he's already gotten 2 more.
So
a drive-through is still not out of the question, but at least for right now, he is safe and can now focus on trying to get down Weil. And look at that gap now, 3.3. So, coming to 3 to go, he's going to have to gain a second per lap to get there. And I don't know if that's attainable, but we've seen crazier things happen.
And if he does get there, what is Cole gonna do with Christopher Weil with this incident pending? I mean, he's there. 3 laps to go this time by, and Cole is just ripping the wear off of those tires to get up with him. Brilliant effort by Cole, but because he didn't qualify, he started himself in 11th. He's in this scenario, but if he did log in some solid laps, that might have done the job for him, but
yeah, and he still can't put the bumper to the 41 with him sitting on a 19X. If he gets a 4X contact with Chris, that's going to put him at 23, and that's 1 over the number for a drive-through. So that option still is not usable, as the gap's down to about 3.2, so he needs to gain about a second per lap. It looks like he only took off about 0.2 that time, so now to get there, that's going to become like about a second and a half per lap, and that's really, really pushing it.
Parker may have had enough with Basin. He's been following him in his tire tracks, and here comes Parker. What is he going to do with Basin into the 7th corner? Looks like nothing. Oh boy. 2 laps to go. The gap now is sort of stalled at 3.1. Cole might have used up his stuff getting to Weil. He needed to balance out the run. And unfortunately, he just pressured too much. He pushed the issue too early to have a shot at the 41. Regardless, brilliant effort, though.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, again, he won on Friday night and may not go back-to-back, but you know what? A first and a second here at the same racetrack in a weekend is nothing short of astonishing and nothing short of amazing. So nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever if he can't get there. And a job well done nonetheless, but that gap's now down to 2.1. He took a second off that time, but he only has 1 more lap now to try to take off those last 2 seconds. Oh, contact between Basin and Parker. The 095 finally got the nose in there, and I think Basin might have hit him a little bit. And Parker will have to try again, as Chris has taken the white flag here. So 1 more lap here at Watkins Glen with Cole in tow, as Parker's still trying to get himself back to the bumper of Basin again. And this time it would not surprise me if that 095 uses that front bumper of his.
White flag gets sent by. Gap now 2.1 seconds. It would be a miracle to get himself up to the lead, but wow. He's probably sweating seeing the 42 behind him, but has 2 seconds to tinker around with.
It's gonna be
Make
close.
that maybe 1.9, but Cole is doing all he can. Look how sideways he is off the carousel.
He is driving the wheels off that thing.
Again, valiant effort.
I mean, yeah,
21x.
Man, that is close. There's Weil. I mean, the gap, I think if there were maybe 5 more laps of this race, I think the 42 might be able to get there. But I don't know if he can now, as Parker probably has 1 or 2 more chances to try to get by Basin. And in turn 6 for the final time, that 41 takes it perfectly. And despite the late race charge from Cole Williams out of turn 7, Christopher Weil is going to start off the round of 10 with a much-needed victory, and he will take the checkered flag here tonight at Watkins Glen, and a job well done for him as he positioned himself very nicely to get himself into the round of 7.
Basin wins the battle for third, and there is your winner of Christopher Weil in P1. What a victory for him, and of course led just about every single lap. A couple others leading it under that only pit cycle, but for the 41, 3 extra bonus points, he's going to carry on to the round of 7, and that's going to be important because that round of 7, of course, determines the round of 4. So for this number 41 of Weil, man, now with the road course up and done with, all bets on Auto Club and how he's going to have to come out and use this scenario to his advantage.
And believe it or not, that 41 isn't even guaranteed into the round of 7 because of so few people being here tonight. You know, he didn't really get the amount of points he could have, but a win is a win is a win. And he will still be the points leader, of course, going into next week. But by no means is he locked in. But this is a great first step into getting himself on to the next round, and he'll burn it down here out of turn 7, I would presume. And as he does so, we'll get to the unofficial results here tonight after these 41 laps.
Full results going to show on your screen. Weil, Williams, Basin, Johnson, Rosero around the top 5. Miller, Sheen, Berge, Schmidt, and Drake round out the rest of the top 10.
Parker White ends up 11th. I wonder if he got a incident penalty at the end there. So he was 4th, but ends up 11th as of right now. Harry Grindle ends up 12th. Carson Poindexter 13th. Corey Long 14th. Brandon Lightus, the last car that started the race, in 15th, and Kevin White Jr. did not take the green flag, so he will be in last for tonight. The show is not over, though. We'll be back here in just a couple of moments with top 3 interviews. Congrats once again to Christopher Weil on another victory here this season, and we will return here in just a moment.
And we welcome everybody back here live for the iSCAR DeNise Design Series. Riding himself out in victory lane is the number 41 of Christopher Weil. But before we dive into interviews, Dewey, what you think about tonight?
I always say that the car count does not always reflect the quality of racing. And even though we only had 15 people take the green flag tonight, there was no shortage of battles throughout this race, especially that one between Parker and Dylan for about the last 10 laps of this race. So that was still a pretty entertaining weekend as you wrap up the final road course here of this winter season. I gotta say, these roadies were quite something this year.
Yeah, that's right. It's the most road courses we've ran in iSCAR, and yeah, glad to see it on how it all played out here tonight. And for that number 41 to Christopher Weil to round himself out in victory lane off the final road course of the season. And what a victory for him, and we're going to go ahead and drag him into the booth. That number 41 On in he goes, and for Christopher Wow, I think his second or third victory in the Xfinity Series. He picks up one, and of course, at the track he picked up the IndyCar win in the Summer Series. Congratulations, bud. Oh man, well, what a... I was about to say an eventful race for all the other drivers, but for you, it was just clear sailing.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it quite clear sailing. Cole Williams was gaining on me hard at the end there. And I don't know if it was because he pitted a lap or two later than I did, or if it was just because he was that much better at saving his tires. Because at the start of that run, I had like an 8-second gap to Basin, so I thought, okay, I can take it easy, save my tires a little bit. But then once Cole passed Basin, he was running me down like half a second per lap. I was panicking.
Yeah, that 42 is really closing up. Unfortunately for you, he didn't have enough time to have a shot at the lead. But for you, of course, how'd the car feel out here tonight?
The setup really suited how I like to drive. Thankfully, it fit right into my hands for once. Last night's Cup setup was just awful for me personally, but I'm glad I didn't go through this weekend without getting a chance to talk to you guys.
Yeah, man, congratulations again on your first, not first one, but, shoot, I forgot what I was about to say. Regardless of that, of course, a big victory here tonight at, Watkins, Glen. Any sponsor you want to thank you for tonight?
Yeah, I always want to give a shout out to my Schramm Poindexter Motorsports teammates. I might have slightly asked Dylan Basin to, not let Cole by so easily, which honestly that might have been the difference in Cole getting to me or not. If Basin just let him go easily, I think Cole had me.
Alright, but 10-4 on that. Christopher Wild in number 41 rounds himself out in victory lane. Go ahead and see you coming next race, coming next week at Auto Club.
Yep, see you then.
Look at me being a dead brain in the corner. I'll go ahead and drag in the 42. Cole Williams into the booth. Dude, we'll take this one away.
Alright, Cole, got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, you won here on Friday night, and you topped that off with another runner-up finish here in tonight's race. You were really starting to cut that gap between yourself and Christopher Weil. Do you think if you had a couple more laps, you would have gotten to him, or do you think you just had it by the end there?
Oh, yeah, we had plenty of speed to get it done. Basically, we cost ourselves the race in qualifying. We were just trying to go too slow. Obviously, with this tire model in iRacing, you got to go as slow as you can. On your out lap, basically, just take it, running in the grass, cutting the chicanes, all that. Try to get a slow lap in to start so you can push for one really good lap qualifying. We binned in the first lap, restarted, and I guess I just didn't look, and I had a full black flag. And as I was actually in the final corner of my lap getting rolling, I got DQ'd, so I had to start like 11th. It was just hard driving through the field. I had a lot of people that were either just made mistakes and they spun off. I know Rosero and Nick Miller made contact. That was some free spots. I think Harry spun in front of me, and I think that was a free spot. Obviously, we had contact with Liam, just shoved me on the way to the curb, made contact at one, and then just turned himself intentionally off my nose, top of the S's. That was basically, without, obviously, I was always going to put that on myself for not qualifying, but if that didn't happen, that was a cost of like 3 seconds or so. That would have been, I definitely would have been on his bumper at about 2 to go. But we still had miraculous speed. I just wish we could have qualified. We were somehow hanging with Parker White. He was kind of just out there for fun, ripping around. So we were catching basically coming from the back. I think he just didn't qualify. I was trying to qualify, but obviously that didn't work out. And then we just had a little left front damage. That was nothing insane. So, we did all we could. And we got all the way up to a 21X. After you get that 2X, basically you just got to start using the 1X at the chicane. That's how, or the bus stop, and that's how we were gaining a lot of time. As well as just taking care of the left rear and keeping it cooled. And then we had some great long run speed as well. So nothing to be ashamed about at first. And then 2 seconds, that's not too bad at all.
Yeah, it's still a great run, of course. Second, nothing to be ashamed of. But, with only 15 people in the session tonight, that means there were less points available than there are most weeks. So what are you going to have to do next week at Auto Club to make sure you can get yourself into this round of 7?
Oh man, I'm very excited for what's coming up at Auto Club. That's my home track. That's one of my favorite tracks on basically on every schedule, and then basically on service. Obviously, it's not V6. So we're not really going to be working the wall, not working the apron. You're basically just going to work right on the white line, pretty much the entire time. But the B car, favorite car, Auto Club, favorite track, with the old abrasive surface, which is my favorite type of surface on the schedule, with a lot of tire wear. So it's a great mesh. We're feeling gonna be good. We just need to save a little bit of tire and then make sure we don't get caught up in contact. Keep the car pretty clean because damage model is punishing on the B car. So gotta keep it clean, and then from there just make sure we qualify. That'll help a lot. And then we'll just from there hopefully we can get the win, secure some playoff points for next round, and then from there just keep doing our thing. I know we got like Pocono I think in the next round. I think that's a good track for me. So that'll be really fun to rip around in this series, and of course all the other series. We had a great start to this round. Basically probably going to be top 2 in each series, and the points heading to the last race, and obviously Charlotte Trucks, Martinsville Cup, and then obviously Auto Club here. So it'll be super fun next week, and I look forward to racing.
Yeah, and the last time you were at Auto Club last month, you finished second there to the same man you finished second to tonight, Christopher Wiles. So definitely momentum on your side for your home track. And before you let you go tonight, any sponsors you want to thank here?
I just want to thank Media Racing, of course. Thanks to those guys, everyone back there. Shout out to Pella Gaming, Z's Custom Diecast, and of course Stealth Energy for coming on this beautiful Eli Comfort made B car. Looking good as always. And shout out to Parker White. And obviously, it was fun racing with him. And then of course he's just been helping me a lot with these road courses, getting better for these races. It just helps just watch him and talk to him about how to run these type of things, and then just working, trying to figure out how we can take care of the tires a little bit better. We were just working a lot for this week because I knew that it's probably gonna be a struggle. It kind of helped that not a lot of people showed up. Obviously, it still only takes a couple people to hurt your race like it did today, but still, a lot of people not showing up. That kind of helps for the point situation in a way, because if we finish up front, some people finish at the back. There's still not as many points up on the table, but we can easily gain points on the cars that we need to gain points on instead of just beating a bunch of non-chasers or something like that. And all the chasers finish in front of you or just behind you. So yeah.
All right, Cole Williams, runner-up here tonight at Watkins Glen after winning here on Friday. Hope to see you back here for the rest of the season.
Thank you, man.
Go ahead and drag into the 08 of Dylan Basin. Into the booth he goes. Dylan, got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Dylan, you were fighting out with Parker White most of this whole entire event, and you both made contact there toward the closing stages of the race, but it seems like it was you two during the latter half. Just walk me through this whole entire race.
Well, really, it was just a matter of saving the right rear. I was getting held up behind people because I was being too nice to the chasers, giving them the golden horseshoe. But, it was just saving the right rear the whole time. And me and Parker, he had a lot fresher tires, and my tires were dead that run. So basically, I just had to chop him off early in the corners, keep him from diving in an entry, and then get a good exit.
And luckily you won the battle here for third place, and it seems as it was only you and Parker White. You gapped yourself from the rest of everybody, from Hunter Johnson, Michael Pizzero, and all those other drivers, but anything you could take off of this race and apply it maybe into others? I know you're not a playoff driver, but regardless.
No, not really, since it's a road course that doesn't drive like a normal road course. It's its own thing. I can't really transition this to an oval, obviously. We don't run any more road courses this season, I don't think, right?
Nope, we don't.
Yeah, so I really don't see where I can transition from there. Because next time I go back to the Glen next season, it'll be a completely different build, and maybe it'll be repaved, so not really much I could take off of it.
All right, about 10-4. Dylan Basin rounds himself out in third place. Go ahead and see. Actually, before we let you go, any sponsors want to think of for tonight's race?
Flying Arrows, Basin Racing, and SPM Racing.
All right, about 10-4. Dylan Basin rounds himself out in third. Go ahead and see you coming in at next race, bud.
Yep, thank you.
And that was Dylan Basin.
It. And that's all she wrote here for tonight's race. Congrats once again to Christopher Weil on picking up the checkered flag here tonight. And we got our round of 10 elimination races here coming up this week. Before we get to those, we got the super lates that'll be at Southern National on Wednesday. That should be a really, really fun one. Be sure to tune in for that. The Truck Series will make their way to Charlotte on Friday night, the Oval this time. Cup Series will be at Martinsville. That will be an absolutely crazy race. And this DeNise Design Series will be at Auto Club next Sunday night. So we got a great slate of elimination race is coming up here for you this week, and a really exciting Super Late Model race. So it's going to be a good one. And congrats once again to Chris. Thanks again for tuning in here for tonight's broadcast. For Ezeckiel Reyes, I am Dewey Schramm. Thanks for watching.